Don't glorify your suffering and self sacrifice. Own it and change your environment by your response to it. Life is a blank canvas in which you can paint whatever the hell you want. Each of us have the nature of truth within us, which Buddhism calls the Buddhahood within each and every one of us. The society in general is made of weak people who prefers mob justice and prefer to be obedient due to fear, failing to question their exploiters and often try to assert their power on much more weaker sections because they themselves are weak. It could be animal cruelty, cruelty on women, and things like that. You get the point. Yo guys, namaskaram. So today I wanted to talk about a problem which one of my viewers had reached out to me, and there was quite an insightful discussion around it. So the co-premise was that he was feeling stuck and he's trying very hard. Like the world just keeps moving but you're falling behind. So we are always told that hard work will solve everything, but what if the system is designed to keep you tired, lustful and weak? So there was an interesting discussion around it, and I wanted to share some pointers with you which can help you in some way or another, right? So this is also a new format which I wanted to try. More from a chill perspective to see if things make sense or not. So these days you see a lot of privileged people who come in front of you and talk about how hard it was for them in life to make it. They somehow parrot the average middle class message: we did not had enough resources, which is blasphemy, and have worked extremely hard and then made it here. You too can make it if you work hard like us, but just to save you off from this hard work, here is a step by step blueprint. So you don't have to do the heavy lifting. The core here is trying to give you a quick fix. Of course, smart work does exist, and some courses do genuinely provide value. But the key to utilize the maximum value out of them is when you work hard and also joyfully towards the chosen path. So, studies show that only 5 to 15% of people actually complete the online courses in which they enroll themselves impulsively, and even fewer people actually implement the changes suggested. So, that's like 1%, 2%, roughly speaking, right? Now, what does this tell us about ourselves? We are overcome by laziness, responsibilities, and a lot of other things which might contribute to our lower self or decisions which we take out of ignorance. We as people hate ourselves. Some of the biggest religions in the world have this message of finding the higher self within us, which is also known as consciousness, or if I have to say it in a more layman term, to love yourself. Since not a lot of things go well in our lives, we delegate our hope and well being to an outside god, goddess, whatever you believe in. Why do we have this problem of always feeling bad about ourselves? So, psychologically, if things don't go in a certain order every day, we feel super anxious and stressed. We are designed as machines by nature, so nothing seems off to her. So, when I mention nature here, don't look at it from a gender warfare, but more from a qualitative perspective. Referring to nature as feminine simply means that we are referring to the nurture quality, which is predominant in females. Hence, we are referring to nature as a she. All of us want to be nurtured by an environment where things just click. We want that feeling of moving forward towards something in our own lives in a positive manner. I believe every one of us is a builder at heart. All of us have problems, either small or big, which we are trying to solve in our own ways. We want to build solutions to our own problems or have someone else build a solution for us. The problem comes when we want to hijack the system of steadily building a solution for ourselves and we start looking for a quick fix. We have been fed this notion that we are behind in life only because we constantly see the highlights of people who only share the best side of themselves. We want to hijack the dopamine system in us by indulging in short term pleasures like excessive porn, excessive masturbation, and things like that. The reasons we are subscribed to OnlyFans and buying exclusive pictures of models who are capitalizing on our lust virtually is because somehow we want to feel good about ourselves or let someone else make us feel good. In our inability to control our own lust, we are making someone else millionaires who can then rule and rig the system to exploit the common man, which is you and me. Where does all of this lead to? We keep on constantly blaming our environment, stating that if only I had enough motivation or resources to start or commit to that thing, my environment is not conducive for my growth. Everyone around me is an asshole slash rascal slash whatever you want to fill, and they're out to exploit me. For how long should we keep on blaming the environment until we come to a point where there is nothing left but regret? Now let's look at this problem from a spiritual perspective, and I add quotes to the word spiritual. We are constantly we are constantly choosing things that are not the highest for our lives. By high, here I mean not the typical high which people relate to. I mean things that drag us into tendencies and patterns that make our animalistic self shine through. The act of enlightenment does not mean that you suddenly become transcendental and leave all your senses. Maybe it might be true for a lot of so called enlightened people, but for a common man, it simply means the ability to choose between certain options. We can always choose what matters to us. Enlightenment for us can simply mean the act of choosing a possibility which makes our intelligence and vision go higher and become more clearer and purer, which is aligned to our core values. Whenever we are given a choice in our situations or circumstances, we have a choice at least within our response towards that thing. Why do the sages always say that in enlightenment they become one with the environment? It simply means that the choices they are choosing on a moment to moment basis reflect their innermost desire, and they are free from any contradictions as to how they want to act. So the way they are thinking is the way they are acting. To make this into a practical video, ask yourself a simple question. What's the highest possibility you can choose for yourself in this moment? The whole point in our life is to change the karmic tendencies which we all carry within us and which we might have picked up from our genes, environment, etc., and make a possibility for ourselves to have a more free and higher living for our own lives. This now brings a central question as to how our environment shapes us. Should we become a slave to the whims and fancies of our environment and give in to it? Or do we have the power to consciously respond and choose to our environment? There's a little bit of nuance for which we must go a little deeper. Before coming to any conclusion, a fundamental question that we must ask ourselves is, what's the type of relationship we hold with people, things, and object within our environment? That is, how do we relate as a person to them? A seed, of course, needs the right sunlight and manure to flourish, but now the question comes, which type of seed are we referring to? Is it a coconut seed requiring a well drained sandy loam or alluvial soil? Or maybe a mango seed requiring the same? You see, here we are very much dependent on the type of soil or environment that we are being thrown into. What if we change the type of seed? What if it's a lotus seed? It requires a lot of muck to grow into a wonderfully bloomed lotus. The seed here refers to your identity as a person. Isn't the world isn't the world synonymous to a muck? Shouldn't we identify as a lotus seed that We are not slaves to our environments within our own vicinity. The more I have understood life, or I'm trying to understand life by talking to multitudes of people, reading, studying, and analyzing some of the greatest minds, the more I have come to realize that what people generally aim for life is leverage and a lot of options. That is the ability to choose from the best of the best. Isn't this common from an evolutionary perspective as to how females choose their mate? They want someone who is masculine enough and can provide them options to live the best of the best life. You look at it in any strata of the society, females in general date up the hierarchy and sometimes even cheat to fulfill their needs, which are sometimes unprovided in the single relationships that they have been kind of dating in. A lot of videos have been going viral these days as to how partners are cheating upon each other. A deeper psychological reason for this is a need to feel complete. We always feel incomplete and remain a slave to our environment. I think now we should reclaim that power within our hands and become a powerful person. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of my favorite writers and thinkers of all time, talks about this concept of slave morality and how we must become a master in order to feel powerful. So he has these two archetypes. Archetypes basically mean a type of personality, the master morality and the slave morality. So, a master values and develops qualities such as strength, courage, creativity, etc., to feel good about himself or herself. The core with which a master functions is, and I quote, I am the power and a god to create reality the way I want, and I unquote. Whereas a slave values and develops qualities such as humility, obedience, meekness, etc., as a response to the oppression that the powerful people have done upon him or her. They function from this core which states that, and I quote, I cannot be powerful, so I'll call power evil and my weakness good, and I unquote. If we look at it from the perspective of the Bhagavad Gita, the slave gives weightage to his or her own ego and thinks that whatever he or she is feeling right now, whatever their experience is up till this point has have been, is the truth. Whereas the master gives importance to the one, whatever it is, and strives to develop qualities to bring that one out. The Gita says, and I quote, the one who is free chooses in alignment with the truth. The one trapped in ego follows impulse and calls it righteousness, and I unquote. The society in general is made of weak people who prefers mob justice and prefer to be obedient due to fear, failing to question their exploiters and often try to assert their power on much more weaker sections because they themselves are weak. It could be animal cruelty, cruelty on women, like, and things like that. You get the point. The powerful people work in silence and assert their will on themselves to become great at things and move strategically in the world. They are masters at showing vision to the people and aligning with a strategic force, people behind them, to rally people for their cause. Don't glorify your suffering and self sacrifice. Own it and change your environment by your response to it. Life is a blank canvas in which you can paint whatever the hell you want. Each of us have the nature of truth within us, which Buddhism calls the Buddhahood within each and every one of us. This life should be an expression of artistic creation and self mastery and breaking limitations all the time. Of course, there are like practical factors like the age you have lived, the current opportunities you have, and things like that. But I think the process in life, as to wherever you are, in whatever space, situation, or area of life you are in, should be to break the current limitations that you have within your own vicinity. Assert your will to power on your own self to become powerful and destroy yourself, metaphorically, to give rise to a more purer and newer version of your own self. I would like to end my video with this quote from Nietzsche in his book called On the Genealogy of Morals, wherein he says, and I quote, "The noble type of man experiences itself as value creating," and I end quote. Each day create something of value. Whether you want to share it with the world or not is a different matter and your personal choice. But at least for yourself, so that you can feel good about yourself. And if you have watched till here, thanks. This is the first step towards becoming a master in your own life. Since watching at least even these, I think, 7 to 8 minute video is a challenge for a lot of people. And until then, let me know what you feel about this video. This is Debashish Bindra from Debu Ki Dastak signing off. Cheers. Bye.